Denmark, which means that we'll be moving to the final speaker of today, Dirk Grunewald. Welcome to Demos.
Yeah, hello everyone.
Hello. The floor is yours, so take it away.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much for having me, and also thank you very much to the audience for taking the time. I know that the time is valuable, so you choose it to spend it with us. That's great. My name is Dirk Peter Grunewald. I am the CEO of Digital Consulting House. We are providing advisory and also professional services for product information management and MDM, which includes multiple subjects. I will come to that. One of them is also artificial intelligence and machine learning. Let me share my presentation. Let me see how that is working. Actually, I don't have the ability anymore to share my screen. So that's, can you,
right, well, we have a solution there, yeah. Luckily, I have your presentation, Bernard, but I need to quickly.
Yeah, you can also show my presentation. I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can reshare your screen. If that doesn't work, I'll quickly grab the presentation from my
I don't have that button anymore. It's gone.
Right. Let's see. It is a PDF file.
Yeah, it's actually it's a PowerPoint originally, but I made it the way that it will also work as a PDF.
Cool.
As I said at the beginning, I'm prepared for all eventualities. So, and whilst you are doing that, maybe a couple of more words to the subject. One of you guys just asked an excellent question. And the question was, what is about the data? Where does the data come from? And actually, there's one thing to keep in mind. And I'm still not seeing my presentation.
No, give me some time. Sorry, Peter. Sorry.
So there is one thing you should keep in mind always when dealing with data. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, how all these are being called, in particular artificial intelligence. There is no intelligence, without the data. So we'll have to have a look into the data. And today in the presentation, which hopefully soon comes up, we will look a little bit under the hood of what is actually happening behind the scenes in some of these systems. Yes, actually we are seeing the screen. So the presentation is named. If you go to the next slide. There is no I in AI without data. So, and as I said, we are not a software provider. We are actually dealing with the software of the various vendors. So, and I want to share a little bit of our knowledge here. So please go ahead into the next slide. So what will we talk about today? So first of all, who are we? There is another presenter who's actually responsible for most of the AI-related content who cannot make it here, but I will step in on his behalf. I will talk a little bit about what are the definitions. So what means PIM? Probably don't have to spend too much time on it. And what is AI, right? And then obviously the subject, because or why you are here, is how can I help with PIM? You saw a little bit of it, so to say, from the front end. I will talk a little bit about the back end, and I will also talk about where the limits are. So, and yeah, a little bit of advertising will be part of that as well. On the one hand, for our services, but on the other hand, you see, I'm wearing here this symbol here, this logo. That's Sparty. That's the logo of the Michigan State University, and that's where the other speaker is right now finishing his bachelor's in master in data science, and in particular in artificial intelligence. So let's go to the next slide. So this is us. So first of all, well, Mr. Alexander Grunewald here, right to my next. He's the one who is also responsible for some of the content we are seeing here. So, and you see, we do a vast amount of services from data strategy, data governance, evaluating products. That's a little bit of an overlap with what PIM vendors is doing, solution architecture and design. Over the course of the last 2 decades, I had the opportunity to deal with a lot of PIM and MDM systems, including Informatica, Stibo, Akeneo, InRiver, Riversand, you name it. And we also, over that time, developed some expertise in the area of enterprise taxonomy, data strategy. Well, I implemented a couple of dozen PIM implementations during the last 2 decades as well, all around the world. Data cleansing and enrichment, database publication, like using InDesign, for instance, or using like actually plugins and other solutions to connect your PIM system to your publications, to your catalog publications, print and PDF. And also, we also provide trainings, right? Alexander is focused on things like business intelligence and, again, AI and ML ops, data development, DevOps, right? And we have a couple of other people in the company, but actually the main folks responsible for the content here of that presentation deck are the 2 on the left. So if you might want to go to the next slide. Okay, let's go to definitions. So I think the easy one, that's PIM, right? And I use some content from Techopedia here, actually a definition which I quite like. From our perspective, PIM is much more than just a software or software tool. For every endeavor, you need a couple of more elements. You need actually exactly 4 elements. You need an organization, the people. You need a process. You need to know what you're doing, so you need the knowledge, and then you also need the right tools. But at the end, you could define product information management as a set of processes which you use to evaluate, identify, store, onboard, manage, and distribute product information. And it could be any kind of product information. So it could be raw data, it could be assets, it could be, excuse me, product content, or any kind of related information. And there's a reason why you do that. Obviously, you want to get to a faster time to market. I think it was mentioned already in the first deck as well. Higher conversion, higher revenue, and higher margin. So it's all about turning over faster, having more customers, having a better customer relationship as well, and finally allows you to make more money, right? As simple as that. So, and then obviously you want to put the other thing in, which is artificial intelligence. And so we have a next slide for that. It looks pretty similar, but has other content. So, so what is it really, right? What you do is you simulate human intelligence, and you do that by machines, in particular computer systems, right? That's but there could be other forms of doing it, but usually we do it via some kind of information technology. So artificial intelligence is also known as machine intelligence, and it allows you to, it actually is able to learn to make decisions autonomously, and to carry out actions as well, right, on behalf of the human being, right? And what it really, what you get here is some kind of AI programming. So you program the artificial intelligence, however you call it, to simulate cognitive skills we as human beings have as well. Obviously, this is not human, but there are a couple of aspects which are being simulated here, like it's learning, right? It ingests information, like we as human beings can do that as well. And based on the information, you create rules, right? And then obviously the next thing is reasoning, right? You choose the right algorithm, right? So the 2 speakers before were talking about algorithms, so you have to choose the right one, obviously. And then you have to be able to correct yourself, right? You have to some range in which you expect the outcomes. So and the outcomes might not exactly what you expect, so you fine-tune the model a little bit. And then there's also creativity, which you are emulating. So you use these AI techniques also to generate new assets. Well, the word generate obviously is included in generative AI. Well, that's where it basically comes from. So this little picture up there, I think visualize it quite well. So you ingest the data, you organize it, you clean and prepare, you do the mapping. We were talking about mappings. You do all the wrangling, and then you test your algorithm, you validate, you tune your model, and then you deploy, manage, and track, and then rinse and repeat. So the cycle begins again, right? However, if you go to the next slide, most of what we saw, you go to the next slide, please. Most of what we saw is actually not really AI in the closer sense, right? AI contains a couple of other subjects, and what most of AI you see in nowadays, that's in reality, that's machine learning. So that's a little bit of a level down. And machine learning itself is divided into three major types, right? You have unsupervised learning, supervised learning, and reinforcement learning. So, well, the reinforcement learning is something like making life decisions. You see that when you are playing computer games, right? The game AI, robot navigation, and so on. That's less relevant, obviously, for PIM and MDM, right? But if you go to the supervised learning area, and then classification and regression. Well, classification is obviously a big thing. What is a thing you are looking at, right? Like visually, but also we saw in the demos before, we saw also you have a text, like a copy text, and together maybe with an image or just by itself, you might be able to figure out some of the attributes of that object where you're looking at as well, right? And then there is a regression, which is being used to forecast. So if certain conditions are present, and that can be multidimensional, then there is a certain outcome to be expected, right? So that's what is mathematically trying to either you do a root mean squared error, right? You try to find a regression line, right? Or if it's multidimensional, then there's also something like a multi-loss function, right? So you try to find the best way, the optimal way through a specific space, right? Which allows you to predict what might be the outcome within certain conditions, right? And then also for the unsupervised learning, for instance, you might have things like clustering, right? When that's interesting when you want to cluster your customers, right? Or visualization of big data, right? So, and when we are going to what is relevant really for PIM, I have a small example here on the left button. I will come to a couple of more examples in the next slide, right? The classification of a product, right? So bananas and apples, you have some algorithms with a model which then are able to classify that object. There is something called the JEPT paradigm of machine learning. So what is the goal, right? Or what is the goal of that machine learning model? In this case, it's to classify a product. What is the experience, right? That's a data set. Performance is the accuracy, and test. That's a separate data set, which is used to test the model together with the original data set you used to train, if the model provides the right outcome, right? So if you go into the next slide, then you will see a little bit of some of the applications, and you saw some of it already in the presentations, right? So first of all, well, the automatic detection, right? Ideally, over time, if you train the model right, you should be able, just with maybe a picture of the product and some other information like a description, right? You should be able to say what that product is. Obviously, then for that, you have to have a taxonomy already. So the model must be trained very well. The training data must be in good shape, and there must be some consistency. But if that is the case, then let's assume you are selling cars, right? Then, or you are buying cars and sell them again. Then, if someone sends you a photograph, it should be able to recognize what it is. Or you could have other kinds of products which are then classified, and also maybe some of the attributes are coming out there as well. So there was a question of, if the product, the shirt, or in this case, the car is white, then, well, it should not say it's a red car, right? That would not be ideal, or at least it should understand that there is a contradiction here, right? And then the other case, which I think everyone is talking about, right? And everyone is saying check GPT. I would bet that at least like 2/3 or even more of people who would be asked what GPT stands for would not be able to answer that. So it's a generative pre-trained transformer, right? And basically it uses also these models, right, to bring in, for instance, a photograph, some attributes, some statements about what you want, and then it gets you, you can't see that here very well, but it gets you a complete description of the product with all information you might want to be able to put on the website, right? So again, that will never be perfect, or it will be hard to get perfection there, but it could be very helpful and could really boost, as already being mentioned, boost your productivity. However, if you go to the next slide, I have to pour some water into the wine, right? I come back to the original statement. All of this does only work with a couple of indispensable ingredients, and they are independent of the software, and they are also independent of the tool, of which artificial intelligence tool you are using, right? First of all, very important ingredient, often forgotten, is you need to have goals. You need to know what you want to achieve, and it should be smart, should be specific, it should be measurable, it should be achievable, should be realistic and timely, right? It's often forgotten, and then you come up with unrealistic expectations, which are not very well managed either, and you get into trouble, right? Well, another very important thing, and it was also mentioned already, is data governance, right? You understand where your data comes from, where is the single source of truth, because otherwise you have to deal with all these contradictions. Who is responsible? What is the lineage? Where does it come from? Right? And then it would be very helpful to have a working enterprise taxonomy, which is actually, there are some rules for it without me going into the details here. You should have in place with some good feature definitions as well. And good, the word good data and assets to train the model, and also good data to be processed by the model are also indispensable. And also, I think it would be good to understand what plausible answers are, and you should be always aware of the limits and the bias of the model you put together and how it's being influenced, right? So so basically, this is all stuff which, again, will not be solved by software. You have to do the homework. AI or ML is not a silver bullet, right? You have this little comic here, which illustrates it a little bit. Yeah, you can steer a lot in the pot, but without good data, the answer at the end will not be what you really want. Okay? Please go to the next slide. I think we are almost at the end. So how do I get started with my AI project? Well, apart from choosing the right tools, of which you have seen two options in the previous demonstrations, you should be aware of the big picture. You should get yourself the data. Discovering the insights, there might be some specifics. You need to prepare it properly. You have to select the right model, the right algorithm, fine-tune the model, right? Don't believe everything. Don't believe every answer you get. Evaluate, and then you deploy it. And there are some tools a lot of these data scientists are using, like, for instance, Python, PyTorch, Pandas, and so on. Without going into the technical details, these are some of the tools these people use in order to make these models and to train them and to test them. Go to the next, please. So, and here, just A little bit of advertising. So we are around now for 10 years. Started 2013 in Detroit after I left a company called Informatica or Hyla. I was in charge of Hyla professional service and consulting in North America before Informatica took over, and I started our own company to be independent. So we have a whole menu of services. I don't want to go through every detail here, but if you are interested, feel free to contact us. We are helping you, and we're also happy to work with everyone on the product side, like also these two gentlemen who presented here. And then there is a last slide, a last advertising. That's the reason why I also wear this shirt here. There's a QR code here you can scan, which gets you right on the website of the Michigan State University Artificial Intelligence Club, where the other speaker who could not present here in the last semester was the vice president of technology of, right? They're also sponsoring opportunities if you want to do that, if you are coming from the US or if you're just a global company. A lot of other global companies are already doing that. Okay, and I think that's more or less it. If you go to the next one, I'm ready for questions if they are directly related to this presentation. Otherwise, I think we can go into the question and answer session.